This is one of the creepiest urban legends I've ever heard, and it ended up being true. So for like 30 years in Maine, there was this urban legend that there was a man who had lived in the woods for decades and would break into people's houses as they slept, that their fridges were empty. And so they all started joking with each other that there was someone breaking into their homes at night and just taking food from their fridge. And it was a huge joke until someone put up a security camera one night. And this is the video that was captured, and before you say anything, I don't know why it took them so long to put up security cameras. Everyone was shocked.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here to the channel, you guys don't know what we do, don't worry, I'm gonna break it down for you guys. We talk about the most scariest and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG Reels, Facebook, anything weird, unusual, unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank all the seekers, man, who's watching the videos entirely. Comment down below. I greatly appreciate the support. Find this video for you guys today. Let's do best, seekers. Say it with me, y'all. Let's seek the truth.
Did you guys hear about the 34-year-old teacher that was essaying a 13-year-old student, and it turns out that they possibly have a 5-year-old child together? This woman's name is Laura Karen, and she was a 5th grade teacher in Middle Township Elementary School in New Jersey. So this whole thing started when Laura became the victim's teacher in the 5th grade. Laura and the victim's mother became friends, got to know each other, and she offered to take care of her kids. The victim, who was 11 years old at the time, was staying at Laura's house with his siblings regularly. Now, the kids went from going to Laura's house every day to then actually staying there permanently. It was said the kids did not go home anymore, and they basically lived in Laura's house from 2016 to 2020. During that time, the 11-year-old was being essayed by Laura, and allegedly they have a child together. Then fast forward a few years later, the victim's father saw a photo of Laura's child on Facebook, and he said, "This kid looks a lot like my son." He called police and an investigation began, and Laura was arrested, but they're still waiting on the DNA results. Now, when the siblings were asked if they saw anything weird going on in the house, they said that Laura and their brother slept in her bed every single night. And not only that, but apparently they also showered together, and they caught Laura essaying him one night. The siblings also said that when this baby was born, they knew that this was their brother's child, but they were told not to say anything because then Laura would get in trouble. This should be a wake-up call to people who leave their kids with literally just anyone. A lot of people believe that just because someone's a teacher, you can fully trust them, but what you may not know is that a lot of predators get positions that revolve around children just so that it's easier to get away with this kind of stuff.
This is
Tragic.
horrifying. The rules are simple. 50 boys, 3 miles an hour, but if you stop walking, you die. And even though there's no finish line, no one knows how far the road goes, the only way to win is to be the last one alive. And with every mile, more boys are eliminated as the crowd cheers for who they think will be the champion. But why would anyone enter a contest like this? Is it because the prize is anything you could ever dream of, or because the only thing worse than dying is living the life that you walked away from? Some of the boys are doing it for the money. Some are doing it for the fame, but some of them just simply have nothing to lose. But if you want to see who's going to become the winner and just how far they have to go, check out The Long Walk in theaters September 12th. And guys, let me know, how far could you go?
Okay,
I won't be in there.
Rapper Sean Kingston has just been sentenced to 3.5 years in prison. He and his mother were found guilty of ripping off car dealerships, jewelers, and a mattress company in this massive wire fraud scheme amounting to over $1 million. His mother was sentenced to 5 years in prison last month, and now it looks like Sean will be joining her. He was described in court as someone that was addicted to his celebrity lifestyle, even though he could no longer afford to maintain it. He has promised to pay back every cent to all of his victims once he is free and he can start working again, which will be when he is close to 40 years old. I don't want to hear somebody call 911.
This woman was...
Hey, man. Trying to keep up, man, with that celebrity status, and you don't have it no more, that's a good way to go broke, bro. If you up and have that celebrity status, man, you better save your money, put some money to the side. You don't know you're gonna need it.
left blind after her ex threw acid on her face, but then she forgave him and then married him. This is the story of Berfine Ozek. She was 18 years old when her ex-boyfriend threw acid on her face after she ended their relationship. Kasim Ozan had threatened Berfine multiple times before, but on January 2019, he waited until she left her house and he attacked her. She suffered severe burns, permanent disfigurement, as you can see in these photos, and she lost her vision in one eye. Kasim was arrested and was sentenced to 13 years and 6 months in prison. And Burfine initially testified against him, but things quickly changed. Absolutely no one expected this, but while Kasim was in prison, he wrote letters to Burfine. He apologized and expressed his love for her. And that's when eventually Burfine withdrew her complaint and stated that she still loved him and that she forgave him. Then in 2021, Kasim was released from prison early, and a year later, Burfine and Kasim got married. And of course, people were so upset and even concerned that this woman was being manipulated, and others just thought that she settled with this man because no one else would love her because of how she looked. Her own family also tried to stop her from marrying this evil man, but she insisted, and apparently they cut ties with her.
This is the only confirmed case of reincarnation in human history, and it's truly horrifying. In the quiet town of Goobersville, Indiana, in 1939, a young couple welcomed their baby girl, Mary. For the first few years, Mary seemed like any other child, until she started speaking strange words no one could understand. Her parents thought it was gibberish at first, but as she grew, it became clear. Mary was speaking fluent Chinese. The family was stunned. They had no ties to China, no exposure to the language. Seeking answers, they consulted language experts, who confirmed that Mary's Chinese was not only fluent, but filled with phrases no modern child would know. As the years passed, Mary's behavior grew stranger. One day, she pointed to an old map and insisted, "Take me here." The place? A remote village in China. Desperate for answers, her parents finally gave in. After a long journey, they arrived in the village. While riding a train through the countryside, Mary suddenly demanded they stop. She led them to an old farmhouse, ran to the door, and knocked frantically. An elderly man opened it, and without hesitation, Mary bolted inside. The family followed, stunned, as Mary removed a brick from the wall and pulled out a small, dusty doll. Clutching it tightly, she turned to the old man and whispered, "Don't you remember me? This was mine." The room fell silent. What Mary said next left everyone frozen in shock.
These are the scariest
What'd she say?
Japanese Legends Part 3. This is Hachisaku-sama, also known as the 8-foot-tall woman. And she's definitely the scariest Japanese urban legend ever. She takes the form of an impossibly tall woman with a very deep voice. And she loves preying on children from the ages of 9 to 11. She wears a white dress with a white hat and no shoes. Hachisaku-sama stalks her victims for days before catching them, and sometimes up to months. But no matter what, if she's stalking you, you're dead 100%, because there is no way to escape Hachisaku-sama. Her main powers are teleportation and invincibility. So whatever you do, if you see Hachisaku-sama, just try and run. This is Kuchisaki-onna, also known as the slit-mouthed woman. She's a very dangerous demonic Japanese spirit. She is recognized by her horrible slit mouth that is covered by a doctor's mask. This happened because her samurai husband found out she was cheating. He slit her mouth with his sword so she wouldn't be pretty anymore. She then died and now roams the earth as a vengeful spirit. She hides behind walls and bushes to stalk students after school. She then goes up to one of the students and asks if she's pretty. If the student replies no, she will immediately kill them with her huge scissors. But if the student said yes, she would take off her surgical mask and ask again. If the student then says no, she would then cut them in half. But if they say yes, she would then cut their face just like hers. Kuchisaki-onna is extremely dangerous, and I hope nobody ever sees her, because in my opinion, she might be the scariest urban legend of all time.
This is the photo of the girl who was turned into a human bodysuit. Yeah, they skinned her. There are real photos of the crime on the internet. I can't show them to you, obviously, but you can Google them. It was a 23-year-old college student who was struggling with depression. She ended up being sent to a psychiatric clinic on November 12, 1998, but ended up going missing instead. Her mother reported her missing to the authorities, and they told her to wait. And if they didn't wait, she might still be with us. And then in January 1999, a couple months later, a tugboat crew found human skin and her leg floating in the water. And initially, people thought this was an accident, but like, how does that become an accident? Like, when you see the photos, that was no accident. But then they kind of realized, oh, someone deliberately removed all of her skin and fashioned it into a bodysuit. Very unfortunately, the case went cold for a really long time. And then in 2014 to 2017, there was a lead. Notice the psychological profile of this guy named Robert J. He had really disturbing tendencies. He worked at a zoology institute where he killed the rabbits with no explanation, and he fit the profile of the perpetrator. But there's no real evidence that says says that he did this crime, so they ended up letting him go. Unfortunately, justice has not been served for her yet. Her killer has not been found. And if you want to see the crime scene photos, just Google Katarzyna crime, because they're too disturbing to show here. Over here for more content.
I don't need to see that, man. Human skin suit. This world has some dark people. Truly.
MrBeast just said that he will not end his current stream until he breaks the world record. He's 10 hours in and over 80% of the way there. He says that he wants to break the world record for the most amount of money raised for charity in a single stream. The current world record, by the way, is 11,972,000, and that was raised by 2 French streamers in 2021. Jimmy, XQC, and Aiden Ross have been streaming on Kick for over 10 hours, but they still have over $2 million left to raise. So the question is, which will break first? The world record or MrBeast?
Normal looking photos
He
that
broke
have a
that.
disturbing backstory, part 10. Ronaldo Doxa, a politician in the Philippines, took a picture of his family right before he was assassinated on New Year's Day in 2011. The man in the back shot him twice while his family was forced to watch. The smiling man in this photo is Nazi Joseph Goebbels, who is in a 1933 League of Nations meeting, and in the next photo, his expression completely changes. His expression changes from cheerful to hatred because someone told him that the photographer was of Jewish descent. This seemingly normal photo shows 3 men in judo attire. The man on the right, however, is Osama bin Laden, the terrorist responsible for the 9/11 attacks on New York City.
Let's talk about this picture. This is why if I ever have kids, I'll never let them use the bathroom alone. A 7-year-old girl and her mom were headed to Target, and she was getting some clothes for school. Her mom also wanted to grab some snacks for movie night. So while her mom went to go grab popcorn and other snacks, she told her daughter to go pick out clothes for school. When her daughter finally finished and picked out the clothes, she went up to her mom and said something strange happened. A sad pale lady had came up to her, telling her that she wished she could have her own daughter that looked just like her. The mom, who thought the daughter was just joking around, laughed it off and said, "Let's go." While heading to the register, the daughter shook her mom and said, "That's the lady who told me she wanted a daughter just like me," pointing at a mannequin. The mom laughed, thinking the daughter was still being silly. You know how kids have wild imaginations, always playing around. While at the register, the daughter had to go to the bathroom, so the mom told her to hurry up. It was only a couple hours down, by the way. While in the bathroom, the daughter texted the mom saying the pale lady's in here who wanted a daughter. The mom, trying to get in a rush back home to her other kids, said, "Hurry up, we have to go, stop playing around." 10 minutes later, and the daughter never came out. The mother, who was waiting outside the bathroom at this time, rushes in the bathroom to see what the heck is going on. The daughter was nowhere to be found. She even checked the stalls to see if her daughter was hiding, standing on a toilet or something. On one of the stalls, she found her daughter's cell phone on the floor. By the way, if you made it this far in the video, comment down below your favorite fruit. Mine is mangoes. When she checked her phone, this was the last image found in it. Police still to this day have no explanation on what happened to that little girl.
Where'd she go? Hey man, listen to your kids when they tell you your story.
How rare is your body? Only 1% of people can wiggle their ears voluntarily, and only 10% of people have a small hole above their ear. Do you have one? Only 20% of people can actually flare their nostrils. I thought everyone could do it. Next, only 2% of people have Norton's toe, where the second toe is longer than the big toe. Those are some weird toes. And finally, around 20% of people have a rare condition where they can taste colors and see sound. I guess tasting the rainbow could be a real thing.
What is the Siberian dancing lady? So you've probably seen this very eerie viral video of a woman dancing in the streets. The video allegedly depicts some kind of entity known as the Siberian dancing lady. According to some urban legends, if you look directly into the eyes of the Siberian dancing lady, apparently she will possess you or attack you or something of that nature. Side note, this is actually why you keep seeing those "sorry for looking into your eyes" comments. They are because of the Siberian dancing lady. The Siberian dancing lady is apparently known to jump in front of cars and dance in a very entrancing way that doesn't seem human-like. Now, there have been many reported sightings of this dancing lady, and they're all very, very creepy and very, very eerie. But so far, I don't think there's actually been any kind of report of someone being possessed by the Siberian dancing lady. So the part about her possessing you is probably made up. But there are so many videos of this dancing lady all over the internet that I personally believe she is a real thing, but we just don't know exactly what she is.
Okay, maybe she just likes to dance. What's in that sheet? Oh no, back away, little puppy. Back away.
Breaking news, an Oregon serial killer has been indicted on a 4th victim. The suspect was charged with taking the life of 3 women and dumping their bodies in various locations. Now, as of Tuesday, he has been indicted on a 4th crime. He was indicted last year for taking the life of Bridget, Johanna, and Charity. 3 of his victims were found in Oregon, while one of them was found in an abandoned bar in Washington. Their bodies were located over several months starting in 2023. They were found in wooded areas and one in a culvert under a bridge. In addition to, they were all located within a 100-mile radius. At that time, it then sparked concerns of a possible serial killer in Oregon. At the time, authorities did not believe there was a connection between any of the victims. The suspect in this case was arrested in 2023 on unrelated charges. He was indicted in May of 2024 for the other 3 women. The indictment came just weeks before he was set to be released on the other unrelated charges. 22-year-old Kristen Smith was reported missing December 22nd, 2022. She was found deceased on February 19th. 24-year-old Charity Perry was found deceased near the Columbia River. According to authorities, she was located on April 24th. 6 days later, 31-year-old Bridget Webster was then located deceased. Then there is 22-year-old Ashley Reel, who was reported missing on April 4th. She was found in a wooded area by authorities. He has now been indicted on the charge of taking the life of 22-year-old Kristen Smith. To stay up to date on this case, make sure you click the playlist below. I'll keep you guys updated. What do you think? Drop in the comments.
This is a true horrifying story that took place in Ara'ar, Saudi Arabia. This story has also been aired on TV by a couple of imams confirming it. I will add the video source in the comments. A Saudi Arabian man from Ara'ar has 4 brothers. All 4 brothers are married except him. People always ask him, why didn't you get married yet? And he always gets aggressive when someone asks him about marriage. He hates it. He doesn't want to get married. So people knew this man is not someone you should speak about marriage with. A few weeks later, this man was invited to a wedding. In most Muslim countries, weddings separate men and women. The men's wedding was held at a farmland somewhere deep in the desert. As he was driving alone at night to the wedding, he heard a woman screaming, "Please don't leave me, please help." He panicked and quickly turned on Quran in the car. Every time he hears the woman screaming, he would look outside and see a wolf. The screams wouldn't stop, and every time there was a scream, the same wolf would appear. He eventually made it to the wedding, and then he told a couple of people what happened to him on the way there. On the next day, he tells his good friend what happened. They both hop in the car in daylight and they go look for that woman. For hours, they were looking. They found traces from the wolf, but they didn't find anything else. A week later, this man went to a majlis, and he announces that he is convinced to get married for some reason. And everyone there was shocked. You, out of all people, want to get married all of a sudden. Something is not right. He had enough. He decided to go to a sheikh, and he tells him the full story. I hated marriage. I always got aggressive when someone brought it up. One day, when I drove to a wedding at night, I heard a woman screaming for help, but all I saw was a wolf. And then a few days later, I was convinced with getting an arranged marriage. Please explain what is happening to me. The sheikh laughs and tells him, you were attached by an admirer, a jinn that was emotionally attached to you. She made you hate getting married. The night you drove in the desert, she was following you. She tried to possess you, but she couldn't. And that wolf you saw killed the jinn. Jinns are known to be afraid of wolves because a wolf is the only animal that can take a jinn's life. And when you heard a woman scream, it was the jinn getting attacked. And now, you are no longer against marriage because the curse you had was killed by a wolf.
3 jobs you won't
Jinn stories crazy.
exist. At number 1, a scuba delivery man. This here is an underwater hotel in Florida, and these guys need to eat, right? So there is a scuba diving pizza delivery man that delivers pizzas to all the underwater residents. And at number 2, a professional sleeper. These guys get paid $100,000 a year, literally just to sleep. They do this so scientists can analyse their sleep patterns, and no lie, they do get paid $100,000 a year. And at number 3, naming movies. This is an extremely easy job, and the people at Pixar get paid a massive $700,000 a year. And the man that named Cars got a massive $300,000 bonus.
Illegal places
where those jobs at?
go, but people went anyways. A few years ago, John thought it would be a good idea to visit the North Sentinel Islands, which was extremely illegal. And his goal was to know more about the tribe living there and also to introduce them to his religion. But as soon as he arrived on the beach, the Sentinels shot an arrow straight through his heart and consumed him in front of his friend that was still on the boat, because apparently the tribe thought that outsiders brought diseases and war. So this is why it's extremely illegal to go there.
This is one of the creepiest urban legends I've ever heard, and it ended up being true. So for like 30 years in Maine, there was this urban legend that there was a man who had lived in the woods for decades and would break into people's houses as they slept. Also, all of this is coming from this week's episode, which is about terrifying true urban legends and is part of our Dark Summer series. This legend basically started because in this one community in Maine, people would wake up in the morning to find that their fridges were empty. And so they all started joking with each other that there was someone breaking into their homes at night and just taking food from their fridge. And it was a huge joke until someone put up a security camera one night. And this is the video that was captured. And before you say anything, I don't know why it took them so long to put up security cameras. Everyone was shocked, not only because the rumor was true, but because this didn't look like a hermit that lived in the woods. It looked like it could have been one of their neighbors. But the crazy thing is, no one knew who this guy was. They put up flyers with his face on it, and no one in all of Maine recognized him. And it wasn't until almost 20 years later that they actually figured out who it was. His name was Christopher Knight, and he was a hermit living in the woods of Maine for 27 years. But here's the thing, it's not like he was stealing valuables from the neighbors. He was only stealing food, and he only took what he needed. So what do you think? Was he a bad guy? And make sure you listen to this week's episode wherever you get your podcasts.
I mean, you just can't break into people's houses and take their food. No matter if he wasn't taking no valuables in that.
Introduce you to the red kangaroo. Now there's a lot of kangaroos out there, but these ones are the ones that look like they could fold you like a pretzel. And honestly, they probably could. They get up to over 6.5 feet tall and over 200 pounds apiece. And they have so many ways to turn you past tense, it's not even funny. First off, they have a 975-pound bite force, which is equivalent to a lion. They can also balance on their tail and kick the soul out of you with 800 pounds of pressure. But I wouldn't worry about the pressure. I would worry about the surgical tools they have attached to their feet that will open you up like a fish. Speaking of fish, if you find yourself in water with them, let's just hope you have good lungs. They are excellent swimmers, and they know that we are not. So they might just bait you into the water and baptize you until you see the light. And let's be honest, there's nothing you could do about that. These things are like negative 10% body fat. I get it. I mean, we've all thought about fighting a kangaroo at some point. Just don't fight this one. You'll thank me later. And as always, follow for more facts.
Handed my gun,
kangaroos.
and I got underneath the table.
I understand. So is it safe to say that your gun was operable? That it fired?
I cannot say that my gun fired. I can say that my gun was more than likely operable. I didn't test fire it.
Can you state for the court how many times you heard gunshots?
I never stated at any time how many gunshots.
No, I'm asking you, did you hear any gunshots? And if you did, how many did you hear?
I don't know how many I heard. My ears were just ringing. It was hard for me to hear anything.
So, you said that you left the apartment through the back door. You pointed the gun at me because I was trying to come out, and you also stated that Brian wasn't there at that time, right? When you did that, you pointed.
It was me and you. When I exited the first time, you were the one that were behind me. I don't know where Brian was. I did not see Brian. I was trying to keep you inside of the apartment.
Yeah, no lawyer. He's doing it by
ran
himself.
Down the street, several houses, maybe. Is that what you said?
If I ran down the street, any houses, I only made it to 2 at the most.
Okay. And you said you heard Brian yell for you?
I did.
And that is when you climbed back up, correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a video I would like to play.
What is it?
Video of everyone exiting the home.
And what's the relevance?
The defendant is, the witness is stating that he climbed back into the apartment, and that video shows something different.
That man was he cooking, bro? He had no lawyer. He was doing it by himself. Breaking it down for. Oh yeah, he was breaking them down, man. Had video evidence too in 4K. Yeah, the other guy's cooked.
I've heard of people catching crazy shit when they go magnet fishing, but evidence from a murder? So on April 14th, someone took their magnet to a creek in Georgia. And usually at the end of the day, you get a bunch of rusty metal and debris. I've done it before. But this guy pulls up a .22 caliber rifle. I would immediately think, oh, this was for sure used in a crime and immediately dumped. But this guy brushes it off. 2 days later, he goes back to the same spot, Horse Creek in Telfair County. And this time he pulls up a bag containing a cell phone, 2 driver's licenses, and credit cards. And it turns out it belonged to an elderly couple murdered back in 2015, and their case has still not been resolved. This is Bud Runyon and his wife June. Bud had posted an ad on Craigslist seeking a 1966 Mustang. 28-year-old Ronnie J. Towns saw that ad, and he messaged Bud saying he would be willing to sell his. But authorities say Ronnie never owned a Mustang, and he was actually looking to rip the couple off. Ronnie had apparently been out of work for months and was living with his parents on their 200-acre property. So Bud and June drive 3 hours to meet up with Ronnie and get this car, but that's the last time they're ever seen or heard from. Days later, the couple's car was found in a lake and their bodies were found nearby. Ronnie Towns was charged with malice murder and armed robbery. And he's actually been sitting in jail for 9 years because his trial keeps getting delayed. Right now, his trial is scheduled for August, and this new evidence might seal the deal. And magnet fishing guy will definitely have to testify in court.
This 16-year-old truly believed that he was a 500-year-old vampire. Roderick Rod Farrell was born in March of 1980 in Murray, Kentucky. When his parents had them, they were teenagers themselves, and right after he was born, his father left to go to the military. His mother, Sandra, was the one who raised him, and they lived on and off with her parents for years. At the age of 5, Rod was essayed by his grandfather, but no charges were ever filed. When they weren't living with her parents, they would live in public housing, and Sandra would work as an exotic dancer. Sandra admitted to dabbling in vampirism, and as soon as Rod was a teenager, he followed in her footsteps. Rod was a fan of fantasy role-playing games, and him and other teenagers would live this vampire lifestyle. While they were all together, they would all wear black, listen to gothic music, and drink each other's blood. Rod's mom was also in this vampire clan, and she would be writing letters to this 14-year-old boy who was also in the same clan, telling him that she was going to be his bride for eternity. In 1990, Rod and his mom ended up moving to Florida since her parents got a home over there. Once Rod began living there, he met a girl named Heather Wendorf, who was described as a troubled teen who would disobey her parents every time they would ask her to clean her room. Once Rod moved back to Kentucky in the 10th grade, he would still keep in contact with Heather, and since they were on the phone so much, this would cause very expensive phone bills, and her parents wanted to put a stop to it. Back in Kentucky, Rod told people that he was a 500-year-old vampire, and he began recruiting followers. It seemed like Rod was recruiting troubled teens, and in October of 1996, they all broke into an animal shelter and killed 2 puppies. In November of 1996, Rod and 3 others drove all the way to Florida from Kentucky to pick up Heather so that they could move to New Orleans to become a vampire family. On November 25th, everyone was at a cemetery so that Heather could cross over to become a vampire once she drank Rod's blood. Rod and Scott entered Heather's home to steal her parents' car so that they could take it to New Orleans, but while they were inside of the home, they also unalived her parents. Heather's 17-year-old sister is the one who found their parents' dead bodies, and apparently Heather didn't know that Rod was going to take the life of her parents. After 4 days on the run, police caught up with the group on November 28th. Once they were arrested, Rod claimed that he was being framed by a rival group of vampires. Scott pled guilty and was given 2 life sentences, Dana was given a 17-year sentence, and Charity was given a 10-year sentence. As for Rod, he pled guilty to 2 counts of murder, and he will be released when he is 51 years old. As for Heather, she never got into any kind of trouble for her parents' death.
Most of the comments on this video are worried about that little guy, but he's fine.
Yes?
Snake's in trouble. Meet the Mongoose. They only get up to about 10 pounds, but let me tell you, that is the most ruthless 10 pounds on planet Earth. It's like a hyper-aggressive, condensed version of John Wick. That's a fully carnivorous hunter. And they're literally designed to fight snakes, specifically venomous snakes. Like they prefer venomous snakes. King cobras, spitting cobras, vipers, rattlesnakes. It's on site. But basically how they do it is they have a faster reaction speed than a cat, which is basically teleporting. So they can avoid all the snake's bites. And once it gets close enough, it'll bite the snake's head, instantly crushing the skull. But the crazy part is even if they do get bit, it's not that big of a deal. They have a protein in their body that binds to the protein in snake venom and digests it, like food. So usually a venomous snake bite will just knock them out for 10 or 15 minutes. And then it's on to round 2. Moral of the story, again, don't worry about him. He's not stuck in there with the cobra. The cobra's stuck in there with him. And as always, follow for more facts.
I understood the reference.
Whenever he felt like time changed, he stepped into what looked like a post... I should not have put this on my eyebrows. Let me grip this. Did that take any... Oh, it took some eyebrows. Stepped into what looked like a post-apocalyptic world. Nothing there had been stolen or broken. There was just notepads, old food, chairs, TVs, pins, battered paper that was almost melted into the floor, and a room that was labeled character preparation. He wanted to go in, but it was closed. Tried to force the door open several times. It was completely unsuccessful, so he just decided to walk away. But after walking away, he heard a slight click, and the door opened up. Walking inside, he was using the light of his phone, but he could hear a faint electrical buzz. There was a string of lights that intermittently flashed on the ceiling, and he felt as though they were going to burst at any second, but suddenly they just got dim. There were character costumes that were hung up all around the room like corpses. The image of all of it was quite shocking, and he walked over to a Mickey Mouse costume that didn't quite look like how it was supposed to. It was lying in the center of the room, and the fabric had deteriorated a lot. There was a lot of holes in it. One of the weirdest things about it is that the colors weren't right. It was almost inverted, white where the black should be and black where the white should be. And it was so startling that he just started to photograph the other costumes that were within the room. And picking up the head of the Donald Duck costume to get a better photo of it, he realized that the eyes were just a little bit too big and seemed like they were staring back at him. And this is whenever he heard a startling crash. Looking to the ground, there was a seemingly human skull that had fallen out of the Donald Duck head. The skull had crashed at his feet, and he just dropped the head and started to go back towards the door. But as he approached the exit, he realized that he was going to be needing proof if anyone was to believe him of this, so he turned back around, and never do this in real life, he turned back around and went back to go get a photo. But when he turned back around, this is whenever he saw that the Mickey costume and whatever might be inside of it was starting to move. Absolute disbelief, he was just backing up away from it, repeating the words no, 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 over and over again. Heart pounding, legs quivering, he picks up the camera to take a photo of it, but realizes looking from the camera that he appears pixelated. Only the silhouette of him can really be made out, and he drops the camera on the floor. Picks up the camera, and it has gone completely black. Whenever the inverted Mickey says in a very low, disturbing voice, "Hey, do you want to see me take off my head?" As he did this, he began to tug at his large costume head. Slowly, this lumpy, blood-like substance started to ooze from it. And then at the sound of the tearing of the fabric, Ben just took off running. And before leaving the threshold of the room, he saw, etched into the back of the metal, "Abandoned by God." The story goes that he never took those photos off his camera, never wrote any kind of blog about it. When he left, he understood why there was no information about that area, and why Disney didn't want anyone to know about it either. Didn't want anyone like him getting in, and they didn't want any of this information getting out. This is one of those stories that I remember reading in middle school and just not being able to sleep for weeks. And even though this is obviously just a story, there are some very creepy Disney facts. So if you guys want to know any of those, just let me know.
Crazy, bro. So the whole mascot came alive? He had evidence, bro? With the camera too? He never showed anybody though. Weird stuff be going on at Disney.
More baffling to me than missing persons cases are when that missing person then reappears over a decade later. She literally came back from the dead. She'd been declared legally dead years earlier. It was 2002 in Lititz in Pennsylvania. Brenda Heiss was a seemingly normal mother of two from the area who was working as an accountant. She had a son and a daughter aged 12 and 8. Now, on the day she vanished, everything seemed to be fairly normal. normal. She put some food out to defrost later and she took her kids to school. She'd been doing a good job of keeping the normal household routine together despite the fact that she was actually going through a divorce. It kind of seemed to everybody like her kids were keeping her going, keeping her in a normal routine. That's why it was so worrying when she all of a sudden just vanished. She never picked her kids up from school that day. She never even contacted anybody to say where she was. Now, obviously, due to her recent divorce, police started looking immediately into her ex, her husband. As bad as it sounds, they were wondering if he had killed her out of anger, revenge, or for financial gain. But her husband Lee seemed just as confused as everybody else, to be fair, and just as eager to get her home. Months and months went by with absolutely no sign of the missing mother. There was also no sign of foul play, no reason to believe any harm had come to her. Years and years rumbled on, and eventually Lee actually went to court to have her declared legally dead. He was then obviously able to remarry if he wanted to. He was able to claim on her life insurance policy too. Now, this again did kind of raise some eyebrows in the community. Neighbours did feel kind of suspicious of him about this, but really nobody had any proof. And sadly, her children had come to terms with the fact that their mum wasn't coming home. That was until 11 years later. Bear in mind her family really had moved on at this point. Her daughter Morgan was 19 years old. She was attending college. She'd had a whole chunk of her childhood without a mum. When all of a sudden, into a police station in Florida, walked Brenda. By this point, it was April 2013. So many years had gone by. She told police officers that she was a missing woman, and at first they were a little bit confused, but she gave them all her details. She then revealed her absolutely unbelievable story to authorities. She said the day that she vanished, she did so of her own accord. She'd suddenly randomly decided on the spur of the moment to join a bunch of hitchhikers who were homeless, who were moving to Florida. She decided to abandon her children to sleep on the streets and sometimes even scavenge in bins for food. She would sit on the street corners and beg for money. She'd obviously not told anyone her real name, and she'd just been sharing tents with strangers and sleeping rough. And the only reason she wanted to hand herself in was that she was tired of being homeless. And when her children found out, they were understandably pretty upset and angry and reluctant to reunite with her. And honestly, I don't know how I would deal with that. I don't know how I would process that information. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think you would ever be able to forgive your mum for doing that?
That one day could save your life. Or not. Condoms are useful for a number of reasons. But if you need a quick way to store liquid, they can actually hold up to a gallon of water, plus they're waterproof, so you can safely store things like matches, electronics, and pretty much anything that shouldn't get wet. If you ever find yourself being dragged underwater by an alligator, shove your fingers into its nose. This breaks the seal alligators need to keep water out of their airways and will make them release you immediately. Each railroad crossing has a number on it. So if your car ever gets stuck on a train track, call 911, give them this number, and they'll notify the oncoming trains to stop. Truck drivers often receive information about dangerous weather, hazards, and accidents before other drivers do, so if you ever see one pulled over or driving differently, it may be a sign that danger is ahead.
Let's talk about the Wendigo.
Store those
The Wendigo is
facts.
said to be a supernatural evil being in North America. They have a hunger that can't be satisfied, so they eat whatever and whoever they want. And just like skinwalkers, they can imitate hurt humans in need of help in order to get you to come to their rescue.
Whoa. Wendigo sighting?
Sounds like he was eating some spicy booty. Clearly they don't do a good job at imitating us. Some people even have videos of them in the forest.
He said deuces.
I got something screaming down there. I don't know what this is, man. Something screaming down there, man.
Just
stop. Wendigo, more like when to go, because that's exactly how I scream in the bathroom after eating Taco Bell.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
And look at this video of one in a cave.
That might be an edit. Might have to call cap on that.
There's 3 ways to defeat them. Setting them on fire, stabbing it through the heart with a silver knife or bullet. Or just not go near one if you hear them screaming. Stay home. There is nothing good outside.
Things you never knew the purpose of.
He was spitting.
Small buttons on jeans are called rivets, and they're placed in the places with the most wear and tear to prevent your pants from ripping. The tiny pocket on jeans is supposed to hold a pocket watch. It's a design from the 1800s.
Whoa.
The bottom line of a solo cup is roughly about 1 shot. The second line is for wine, and the third line is for beer. The neck shape of a beer bottle is designed to incentivize you to hold it from there so that you don't warm your beer before you finish it. These static wicks on an airplane exist in order to reduce the chances of the plane being struck by lightning. The arrow on the gas gauge for your car points in the direction of which side the gas tank is on your car. These orange balls only exist to help make power lines more visible to low-flying aircraft. The dimpled ridges on a golf ball help reduce the drag when it's flying through the air, making it go further and faster.
The more you know, man. We learning.
Embarrassingly dumb ways people passed away. Part 4. In 1997, a 25-year-old Brazilian cyclist named Marcelo was riding his bike through an airfield in Sao Paulo while listening to music. Not paying attention to his surroundings, he ended up coming into contact with the propeller of a landing plane, ending his life immediately and damaging the wings and blades of the plane. Next, in 2008, a biology teacher from Bulgaria was driving with 2 friends and decided to randomly pull over and begin dumping leftover jars of chemicals into a manhole. These chemicals included highly flammable liquids, and when they came in contact with the sewage, they caused a powerful explosion that sent the manhole cover flying, decapitating the teacher. In 1999 in Cambodia, 3 friends were at a bar drinking. They began arguing until one of them got out of their seats and pulled out a 25-year-old anti-tank mine that he found in his backyard. He then set it under the table and came up with the idea to drink while stomping on the mine. Everyone in the restaurant evacuated quickly, minutes before one of the men accidentally set the mine off. And in 2016, a pastor from Zimbabwe made a promise to walk into a river and then rise above the water, and this excited many of his followers. After fasting for a week, he went to fulfill his promise at Crocodile River, only to be devoured by crocodiles before he could even attempt to perform this miracle.
Why would he, if he's gonna try to walk on water, why would he do it at a crocodile river? The name is literally in the Crocodile River. That's the place you wanted to test it out at. People, man, they do some of the most bizarre things. You really just can't explain it.
This is why you shouldn't drink tap water.
I don't drink tap. You have to stay away from that. What we about to see, bro? No. What the hell is that? Organisms, man, our eyes are so small that we can't even see.
We're always told to drink a lot of water throughout the day, but have you ever wondered what happens when you drink too much water? Well, 35-year-old Ashley Summers drank 64 ounces of water in a span of 20 minutes and passed away from water toxicity. Ashley, her husband, and 2 daughters were at Lake Freeman in Indiana when she began feeling dehydrated. So she drank 4 bottles of water because for some reason she wasn't able to quench her thirst. Ashley complained about having a horrible headache and she began to feel lightheaded. When she got home with her family, she passed out in the garage and she was taken to the hospital where the doctor said she had brain swelling. Ashley never woke up and she was pronounced dead from water toxicity. A toxicologist said that this is more likely to happen to someone who's extremely dehydrated, which will cause them to drink too much water and not enough sodium or electrolytes. So remember, bring more than just water on really hot days, especially if you're under the sun for a long period of time.
This 98-year-old
Man, what the hell? She too much water. That's like one of the first times I've ever heard something like that, man. I guess when you get, like you said, when you get dehydrated, you gotta bring something other than water, because if you just down a whole bunch of water, I guess your system can't take it all in, especially when you're dehydrated. So keep that in mind.
A 40-year-old woman had her life ended in a snuff film. Margaret Douglas was a woman who lived in Ohio, and even at 98 years old, she lived by herself and was described by her family as being fiercely independent and healthy. Margaret told her family that the thing she was most excited about was being able to reach the age of 100 in just 2 short years, but sadly, her life would be brutally ended before she got to that point. In April of 2018, Margaret's partially nude body would be found stuffed inside of her bedroom closet, having been strangled to death. Margaret's 17-year-old neighbor, Gavin Ramsey, would eventually be brought in for questioning after several concerning videos and photos were found on his cell phone. The videos depict Gavin breaking into Margaret's home and then filming her while she slept on the couch for several minutes. After several minutes of watching her sleep, Gavin would jump on top of Margaret and proceed to strangle her to death. Afterwards, the video and photos would depict Gavin masturbating over top of Margaret's dead body before using her hands to masturbate himself. When asked why he did it, Gavin simply stated that he wanted to know what it felt like to take another human's life. He was quickly found guilty and is currently serving life in prison.
By the end of this video, you're not going to be able to look at this photo the same way. This photo looks completely innocent, a middle-aged man reading to a bunch of kids. But this man is Pal Schaefer, and he's the leader of one of the worst cults you've probably never heard of. Pal was a Nazi during World War II, and after the war, he fled to Chile to basically start his own prison camp. I talk about it more in this week's podcast episode, but he brought a bunch of other Germans to Chile under the guise of "let's escape Germany." But once they were all there and he had them in the middle of nowhere, he started subjecting them to torture. And unfortunately, no one got it worse than the children in the camp. Upon arrival, kids were stripped from their parents, told they no longer had parents, and were beaten if they tried to talk to them. Pal also started a hospital in the area, which was just a way for him to abduct local Chilean boys. If a young boy went in for a checkup, he would have the nurses sign adoption paperwork and he wouldn't return the boys to their families. And this is all because Pal was an abuser of the worst kind, and he did all this to create a society where he basically had unfettered access to young boys. And eventually, he turned his cult into a death camp. There are over 600 people who went missing at this camp, and most of them are local Chileans. Anyways, this whole story is so wild, and I encourage you to listen to the whole thing in this week's episode.
Sounds like a wild episode, man. Signing over kid.
Weird War Facts, Part 5. After the attack on Pearl Harbor, the US government issued Mickey Mouse gas masks in case of a chemical attack. The incentive was to make them appear less scary to kids, but most people don't think it worked. An atomic bomb cameraman accidentally ripped off his safety goggles a few seconds before the bomb exploded. He immediately covered his eyes with his hands, and when the bomb detonated, he saw the bones of his hands through his closed eyelids just like an X-ray. When the Soviet Union was pushing towards Berlin during World War II, a Nazi SS soldier was forced to play piano for his captors. They made it clear to him in sign language that he would be executed the moment he stopped playing. He played for 22 straight hours, after which he collapsed in tears. They congratulated him.
This baby was found after being missing for 51 years, y'all. This baby's name was baby Melissa, and she went missing when she was 21 months old. And her parents needed to find a babysitter so that they can go to work and be able to make money. Now, this happened back in 1971. Like I said, she was 21 months old. And her mother looked in the newspaper for a babysitter, and she found one. Now, this babysitter allegedly got baby Melissa, and after her mom got off work, she was gone. And she has been missing for 51 years. 51 years. And she gave her a whole new name, a whole new identity. It raised her under the pretenses that she was her child instead of telling her real identity. Fast forward 51 years later, she has been found, and I mean, obviously her birth parents are no longer living, but the fact that she has been found after that long is absolutely fascinating and really tells you how a lot of these missing persons cases that they might still be alive.
Here's the most unsolved mysteries with the most chilling phone call, part 1. Trigger warning, all of these stories you're about to see are real and documented, and every single one of these are still unsolved to this day. For our first story tonight, there's this young girl named Antoinette. On April 6, 1986, her and her sister were up at 3 a.m. at the house. At just 9 years old, they heard a knock on the door. She said, "Who is it?" And this man said, "Uncle Joe, please let me in, it's cold out here."
According to her sister's reports, as soon as Antoinette opened the door, 2 men grabbed her and put her in a brown van. Here's where everything gets super creepy. Her sister said that she kicked and screamed all the way to the van. 1 year later, the police received this phone call, and what you're about to hear literally gives me chills.
I'm Antoinette Garibito. Okay, we're back in Albuquerque. Hello? Antoinette, where are you?
Whoa.
And this is why you should never kiss a baby on the lips.
This is a result of somebody kissing her on the mouth. When parents say not to kiss their children, this is one of the reasons.
This is a recent photo of 8-year-old Bree Lynn. She was born healthy, but as a baby, she was kissed on the lips by someone who had a cold sore, and her life changed forever. So after this happened, she began having seizures and became extremely sick. And since as a baby, your immune system is not developed, the HSV infection attacked her brain and left her with a severe brain injury. Her mother explains that the left side of her brain is 60% damaged and the right side is 10% damaged. And because of this, Bree Lynn has never been able to walk or talk, and doctors don't even know how long she'll live. There was actually another child in the past who had the same thing happen to them, and they only lived until the age of 7. And here's the thing, many people can argue that they've kissed their baby and nothing like this has ever happened, but this is still very possible, especially if you have a contagious virus in your system. I mean, just to be safe, we should all avoid doing this.
Yeah, man, I mean, don't let random strangers, I guess, I don't know if the person was random, but even, I guess, family friends don't even try to freaking kiss the baby, because like she said, the baby's immune system, it's new, so they can't fend off diseases like we can. You may just think it's all sweet and innocent, but if the person tells you, man, don't kiss the baby, just as the baby, just follow what they're saying, man, because you never know what could happen. That's gonna make me way more cautious now. That's an edit. Call them out,
Really
man.
weird human body facts that I can guarantee you didn't know. Your penis has rifling. That's why the stream twists. Girls who are born at altitude reach puberty a lot faster than girls born at sea level. In some cases of brain surgery, they peel your face forward like a banana peel.
Wow, really?
Remember the Old Navy supermodels? They were mannequins that Old Navy came out with in 2008 during the recession. The mannequins had their own personalities and even relationships with each other. And they were to be treated like celebrities, and they even had social media profiles. Supermodels commercials were extremely fleshed out, and there was even drama between the models. Like, they would gang up on each other. There was a little bit of like a Mean Girls thing going on. The commercials for this campaign were like little short films about their lives. There was also a dog. There was even a Supermodelkin Super Search, which was a contest for someone to be the new identity basis for a Supermodelkin. Maggie won, and they literally turned her into a Supermodelkin. In 2011, the Supermodelkins retired in order to make way for Old Navy's new campaign. It was the Old Navy Records campaign and was in partnership with Shazam.
Crazy facts about things in our world. Mohammed is the most popular name worldwide. A teaspoon of a neutron star weighs 10 million tons. The Great Wall of China takes 18 months to walk. The human body is made up of 60% water.
Damn, so we water beings, man. What the hell?
Facts that will blow your mind. Humans are the only animals that enjoy spicy foods. Potato chips cause more weight gain than any other food.
Wow.
It's impossible to hum while you hold your nose. The least interesting day in history was April 11th, 1954. Aldous Huxley and C.S. Lewis died on the same day as JFK. Bigger forks lead you to eat less. The longest living insect is the termite. Chewing gum after a meal reduces heartburn. Dogs can smell cancer. Bees can detect bombs. Follow and comment below which fact blew your mind.
Dogs and bees.
Chilling paranormal encounters caught on camera.
Oh my fucking god, I swear to god, this thing just fucking looked at me. Oh my fucking god. Oh my fucking god.
You saw that? It moved, but it was slow.
You okay?
Nobody there. Miss? Hello?
Ooh. Who the hell was crying in that
The
car?
reason I had to move out of my flat. I was home alone.
I saw that. Definitely saw a fish right there or something. And caught all those encounters on camera. Those some brave souls.
These are the most amazing animals in the world. Part 1. The ogre-faced spider can be found in the forests of Australia and Africa, and it's known for having the largest eyes on any species of spider. Their eyes can also absorb 15,000 times more photons than humans. They're able to hear their surroundings from the tiny hairs on their legs, and use it to create one big and one smaller web between their legs, and attract their prey with their waist and snag it. Next, the Watusi is a species of cattle that originated back in ancient Egypt. The biggest characteristic that helps them stand out is their massive horns. These horns can grow up to 8 feet in length, and some of them may never stop growing. The Watusi with the largest recorded horns was in 2004, with horns measuring 40 inches in width. Damn. And these horns don't just look awesome, but they function as air conditioners for the animal, because they can control their body temperature and send it out the horns. And finally, the flatfish. Their flat bodies allow them to blend into the ocean floor to easily hide themselves from predators, as well as help them catch their own prey. They're also extremely fast swimmers thanks to their underfin, which gives them an extra boost. These fish also start like any regular fish, with both their eyes on each side of their face. But within a few weeks, one of its eyes slowly migrates its way onto the other side of the face, which makes them look like this.
Flatfish, okay.
This guy could probably hear his ancestors because that's how close he was to meeting them. Let me say, if you ever see this in the water, you need to swim away immediately. Because this, my friends, is a blue dragon, otherwise known as a Glaucus atlanticus. This thing is literally designed to catch a body and then sleep like a baby afterwards. If there's anything I've learned about nature, and it's a little trick, is to never associate yourself with anything blue. Poison dart frog, blue, will fold you like a lawn chair. The blue Malaysian coral snake will fast track you to the afterlife. The blue-ringed octopus, which will give you your own headline. And of course the blue dragon. However, it's not actually a dragon, it's a slug. So unless you wanted to say killed via a slug on your tombstone, don't do what this fool's doing. These animals are commonly found on European, African, and of course Australian coasts. These creatures will literally steal other animals' venom to use it for themselves. They also produce a sting more painful than the Portuguese man of war, feeling like hot knives on your skin. Oh, lovely. Now send this video to a friend so they know not to go near it. You could literally save their life.
Creepy last words people said
Don't
right
touch that
before
slug.
dying. A nursing assistant said that she was in a long-term patient's room changing the sheets. The patient would periodically look behind her. She asked the patient what was wrong, and the patient looked in her eyes and asked, "He doesn't scare you?" The nurse was confused, and she asked her who she was referring to, and the patient said, "The big man in the top hat. He's standing right behind you." She said that she doesn't think that she has ever finished changing a bed sheet and repositioning a patient as fast as she did that night. She refused to go into that room by herself for the rest of her shift. Linda Johnson, a former nurse, said that she had a gentleman in his late 90s who was dying. He started screaming blood-curdling screams, so they raced to his room. He was screaming that the room was on fire and that there was a man with large horns peering out of the flames. He kept pointing to one wall, saying that it was on fire. The nurses turned on the lights and tried to calm and console him, but to no avail. Instead of being consoled, Linda said that he told her that she was on fire and that he could see her being consumed by flames. Linda said that it was the creepiest thing that has ever happened to her. The doctor was notified, but nothing relieved the patient's terrifying hallucinations. He died soon after. Cynthia said that several years ago, her 20-year-old daughter had brain surgery. She got an infection of the spinal fluid. She was there in grave condition for a month. Cynthia never left her daughter's side. One night, the worst night at this point, she asked who the man in black was that was standing by the bathroom, and why Cynthia's deceased brother, the girl's uncle, was standing next to her at the side of the bed. Cynthia immediately got the chills. She told her daughter, "They're not here." Then she told her brother and the man in the black, whom she couldn't see, "You both have to go now. She's not ready to go, and I'm not ready to let her go." After that night, her daughter started to get better and better each day. Today, her daughter is doing well.
Thanks to a deathbed confession,
Oh.
a nearly 24-year-old cold case was closed this week when the bodies of a missing girl and her mother were found. 10-year-old Natasha Alex Carter and her mother Susan disappeared from their home in Beckley, West Virginia in August 2000. At first, police initially reported that Alex may have been abducted by her mother. In a press release from December 2021 about the case, the FBI Pittsburgh said, quote, "At the time of their disappearance, Susan Carter and Alex's father were having a custody dispute, and Alex moved in with her mother and mother's new husband," which it's not confirmed that it was actually her mother's new husband, but they moved in, and then not long after that, Susan and Alex disappeared. But while it was initially suspected as a parental abduction by Susan, after the two remained missing, an investigation into other possibilities ensued, but unfortunately, the case went cold. In 2021, the FBI reopened the cold case and started looking into the man Susan and Alex were living with, Larry Webb. Searches of his home were done in 2022 and 2023, and they found a bullet embedded in the wall of what was Alex's bedroom. The bullet was tested for DNA, and it confirmed that blood on it belonged to Alex. In October 2023, Larry Webb was indicted on first-degree murder charges for Alex's death, despite Alex and Susan's bodies never being found. Due to his deteriorating health, though, Webb was not arrested until April 12, 2024, but since then he was being held without bond. On Monday, he had a medical episode, after which, in a, quote, come-to-Jesus moment on his deathbed, he confessed to authorities what he had done. Webb claimed that on August 8, 2000, he had gotten into an argument with Susan over money. He said he was missing some cash and believed that she had taken it and spent it. The argument escalated and he shot her, and then he ended up shooting Alex so there would be no witnesses. Webb then wrapped their bodies in bed linens and placed them in the basement that night. Over the next 2 nights, he dug a shallow grave in the woods on his property, eventually burying them in his clothes, and then walking free for the next 20 years. On April 22, 2024, Larry Webb died at Mount Olive Correctional Complex, and 6 hours later, Susan and Alex's remains were found at his property in Beckley. Unfortunately, now that Webb is dead, he cannot be charged in connection to their deaths. At least now they have been found and can be properly laid to rest. Alex's father, Rick Lafferty, said after the discovery, quote, "It's kind of a sad day, but also a happy day because I can bring my baby home." Rest in peace, Alex and Susan.
Told you as a kid that you still believe.
Alright.
That sitting too close to a screen will cause eye damage. While extended close viewing can cause eye strain and headaches, it won't cause any lasting damage. That milk builds strong bones. There are multiple studies that found that there is no evidence that drinking milk can prevent bone fractures or osteoporosis. And there's also studies that show that the people who drank more milk as teenagers had more bone fractures as adults. That if you go outside in the cold without a jacket or with wet hair, you'll get sick. This will not give you a cold, however, it does put stress on the immune system, so if you are vulnerable, you're going to be more vulnerable in the cold. That it's dangerous to stand in front of a microwave while it's cooking. Microwaves use a type of radiation that don't have enough energy to knock an ion out of an atom, and therefore they're not known to cause damage to DNA inside of cells. That cracking your knuckles leads to arthritis. And the cracking here is synovial fluid filling that empty space you just created, and this doesn't cause any damage or weakness to
The dirtiest things in the world by number of bacteria. Toilet bowls 51.2 million. Bed sheets 72.3 million. Toothbrushes 100 million. Your mouth 6 billion. Kitchen sponges 54 billion.
Cute animals that
What
are
the
actually extremely dangerous. Part 1. Although dolphins are known to be human-friendly, intelligent, and playful, they can also be one of the most dangerous animals if you upset them. They occasionally bite people with their sharp teeth. They can also kill you if they hit you hard enough with their nose, and also if they pull you underwater.
Let's see if you have nyctophobia. I'm going to show you 5 photos. Try your best to make it through all 5.
Here we
Let's
go.
start the test. How does this dark hole make you feel? How about walking home at night alone? Walking down this hallway with no flashlight? Looking out of the window and seeing this? Or looking out at night to see this figure? So how did you do? Did you make it through all 5? If not, then you could have nyctophobia, which is the fear of the night or darkness. Let me know if you have nyctophobia in the comments below. And remember to hit the plus sign and follow me to see if you can make it through the next phobia test.
And if you see this guy, like you said, nyctophobia, I think I freaking passed with flying colors. None of those pictures bothered me, man. Being in the dark, being at night, I think I can deal with it, man. That's definitely like not one of my even top 10 fears, bro. So I know I passed that with flying colors.
The disturbing facts that may ruin your day. Your brain blocks out the feeling of your organs moving around inside of your body at all times. After giving birth, some women can feel their organs sliding back into place as their uterus shrinks.
Ooh.
Human babies are helpless at birth compared to other animals because our brains grow so big. We evolved to give birth earlier in our development so that we don't severely hurt the mother while coming out of the birth canal. Your nose is always in your line of sight. Your brain just chooses to ignore it. You can look at any object and your tongue already knows what it feels like to lick it. You could have 2/3 of your liver removed and it would regenerate itself. If your immune system found out that you had eyes, it would attack them and you would go blind. No matter how hard you strain, you're only using about 60% of your full strength. If your brain didn't stop you, you could tear your muscles and break your bones just trying to throw a ball as hard as you can. When you hear about mothers lifting cars, this is thought to be the fight or flight adrenaline temporarily overriding that limit. If you have surgery and they have to take out your intestines, they put them in a bowl next to them while they work. Your intestines wiggle around in the bowl like snakes the whole time.
Most download.
And we survived that, man. Human beings are freaking incredible. Like I said, I didn't even know about the 60%. I was saying, imagine if we could actually use 100%, but I don't think, like I said, our bodies can take. We would tear ourselves apart. More you know, man. I guess that's why there's a limit, bro. It's a reason for everything.
Mobile games in the world. Subway Surfers 1 billion.
Good times.
Pokemon Go 1 billion. Mobile Legends Bang Bang 1 billion. Garena Free Fire 1 billion. PUBG Mobile 1.2 billion.
The most heavily protected places on Earth. Coca-Cola is super cautious about who they tell their secret recipe to. It originated in 1886 by a guy named John Pemberton. He put the formula in a safe until the year 2007. In 2007, it was transferred to a vault in the Coca-Cola Museum. Very few people have ever seen the formula, kind of like Mr. Krabs and the Krabby Patty. You know what I'm saying? Workers and even executives of the company aren't allowed to see the formula. And the ingredients actually come into the factory as unlisted. Some of the ingredients are on the label because of FDA regulations, but if you want to know the secret ingredient, the only way you can access that is through the vault. This boy made one last request before surgery, and when his parents found out what it was, they immediately broke down in tears. Jackson was a 9-year-old boy who was born with a cyst on the left side of his brain. When he was growing up, he was always in and out of the hospital and constantly getting tests done. Although Jackson has had many surgeries in his past, there was a big one coming up, and he was nervous for it. Finally, the big day came, and he was wheeled into the operating room and away from his parents. Then they hooked up his IV, and they were about to put him to sleep before something happened. He asked for one last request, and the doctor broke down in tears. The doctor granted his wish, and they started operating, but you seriously will not believe what the request was. Before I tell you what it was, I found a way you can live stream with no requirements. Like, even if you have 0 followers. So if you want to live stream, just press right here. Jackson asked the doctors if they could perform surgery on his little teddy bear, George. So they decided to do the operation on his teddy bear in the exact same spot that they were going to do it with Jackson. Jackson then went through the surgery, and everything turned out great.
This guy took a video of his neighbor's window and saw this. Why are there so many flies? Well, most likely there is a dead body in there. So I went in his other videos to look for an update. And then 3 days later, the flies are still there and there's no context. Did this guy call the police? Did he let anyone know? This is crazy.
Did aliens create us?
People have to be way more careful.
Actually states that we are the aliens. I mean, why are we the most smartest advanced species on the planet? Why is there no equal species? We are the most advanced primates. The theory goes that during 6000 BC, an alien race called the Anunnaki came to Earth. They studied the species and were very interested in primates. Now look, the Anunnaki were very involved in genetic experimentation. They started messing with the DNA of primates and accelerated it, making evolution turn primates into us, Homo sapiens. They did this to leave their mark and carry their bloodline on this planet, creating a new breed of beings gifted with extraordinary intelligence and extraordinary consciousness. And then supposedly as we evolved, they slowly guided humanity, pushing us to what we have become today. And then they did their job and left. But they're always watching us, and that's why we always see UFOs hovering around the sky, never really doing anything but watching us. It's them checking on their creation. Now this is where it gets wild, because in ancient Sumerian texts, they described the Anunnaki as beings who could fly with elongated heads and said they were very wise. But what do you guys think? Did we just become from the normal nature of evolution, or were we created?
Let's talk about another...
Asking a valid question, Seekers, man. Do you think that's how we got our evolutionary jump from, I guess they said, promise to Homo sapiens? They came down from the sky and they did something to us to make us get the evolutionary jump, and that's why we seen UFOs and things like that in the air, but we can never identify them. They coming back and checking up on us? Man, these clips, bro. You always get the craziest theories, man.
One of the internet's most tragic stories, Opal. Opal is an Adult Swim short created by singer-songwriter Jack Stauber. You probably know him for hits like Peppermint and Buttercup. The video starts by showing us a happy family in a pretty white house singing to a young girl named Opal. Opal is quite happy in this scenario, as they each tell her that they see her and compliment her in different ways. But Opal sees a mysterious house through the window and it seems to worry her. Opal crosses the street that night despite the warnings of her family to visit the house. There she is greeted by an entirely different family that refers to her as Claire, and each is singing about their miseries. The grandfather is blind and has a smoking addiction. The father is extremely self-conscious of his looks and even insults Claire to make himself feel better. And the mother is dealing with various addictions and the trauma of an incident she was a part of. Opal runs from the family and locks herself in a room where she looks across the street towards where the happy house was. But instead she is greeted with a billboard. Anything look familiar? It bears a striking resemblance to the happy family scene earlier in the film.
Ooh.
It is at this point that we realize that Opal is Claire and that the happy family is just a coping mechanism in her head. The film leaves us with this sad scene. And there you go, the sad story of a girl trapped with an abusive family, reinventing her reality within her head.
She literally made that film.
Let's talk about a terrifying horror game involving a demonic secret that the Catholic Church wants to keep hidden. Our Lady of Sorrow.
Okay.
Full playthrough on the channel. Our Lady of Sorrow is one of the many names given to Mary, the mother of Jesus. But what does this have to do with the horror game? Well, the game itself is actually a secret tape that the Catholic Church is hiding from the public. The Church claims that the footage is dangerous and should not be viewed by anybody. As you play through the tape, you discover that something is happening to the statues of Mary. And you learn that years ago, a woman who was thought to be a witch was burned at the stake right here at the church. Whatever was possessing her is still here. Explore both the grounds of the church and the crypt beneath to figure out what demonic presence the church is hiding. But the real secret and danger lies not in the church, but in the tape itself.
You guys gonna check that game out, Seekers? I'm not into horror games like that either, so I don't know.
Things you never knew the purpose of. These small buttons on jeans are called rivets, and they're placed in the places with the most wear and tear to prevent your pants from ripping. The tiny pocket on jeans is supposed to hold a pocket watch. It's a design from the 1800s. The bottom line of a solo cup is roughly about one shot. The second line is for wine, and the third line is for beer. The neck shape of a beer bottle is designed to incentivize you to hold it from there so that you don't warm your beer before you finish it. These static wicks on an airplane exist in order to reduce the chances of the plane being struck by lightning. The arrow on the gas gauge for your car points in the direction of which side the gas tank is on your car. These orange balls only exist to help make power lines more visible to low-flying aircraft. The dimpled ridges on a golf ball help reduce the drag when it's flying through the air, making it go further and faster.
The more you know, man. I know they put those on the power lines, the orange balls.
You get free Fila shoes. And this guy was about to make his attempt, but little did anyone know, he's secretly a hurdler.
Okay. It's like a cheat code for it, man.
Not only did he complete the jump, but he exceeded it and took home a free pair of shoes.
Animals that most definitely exist.
Easy dub for him.
To acknowledge their existence based on principle. Number one. Oh my god. That's not real. That's a goofy goober. That's not a real animal. The Tibetan sand fox looks like you just told it a bad joke. It looks like it's really upset with you. It looks so unnaturally natural. It looks like it's bad taxidermy, but it's still alive. It looks like it knows how to talk. but it only does it when you're not around. The Po-2 bird, or the Patu bird, I don't know. That's a problem. That's a problem. If I woke up in the middle of the night and I saw this thing looking at me through the window, I would head down to the nearest rope store. That's as much as I can say on this app. Hey Tucker, how come you don't let your feet touch the bottom of the ocean when you go swimming in it? Oh, maybe because the hairy frogfish continues to taunt me with his existence. Oh my god, I can't imagine stepping on that. I'd cry. I'd cry immediately. I'm not going to claim I know how God made animals, but when he was doing the fish, he really was running out of concepts. Just put more spikes on it. Just more spikes. It's got to be different somehow. So just make it a hideous being.
I didn't even know half of that frog didn't even existed.
Let's find out. I'm going to show you 5 photos. Let's see if you can make it to the end. First one. How about this?
I'm good.
Feeling uneasy yet?
I'm still cool.
Almost there. Last one.
Okay, the last one kind of got
Here
me.
are 3 real ways to survive encountering a weeping angel. For those of you who aren't aware, the weeping angels are a race of horrific alien entities who feed off the energy of human beings and bear the appearance of religious statues. The first rule you'll need to remember, if you're unlucky enough to encounter one of these creatures, is to never take your eyes off of it, no matter what happens. Weeping angels are only able to move as long as they are not being directly observed, so as long as you keep an eye on them, you should be safe. However, the moment you even blink, your life will be at risk once again. Which brings us to our second rule. If you suspect there is an angel in your area, be sure to travel as a group. At some point while watching over an angel, you're going to need to rest your eyes. If you have someone watching with you, you can blink in shifts, ensuring that this creature is never able to catch you off guard. Finally, if you want to get rid of a weeping angel permanently, you'll need to beat it with your brain instead of your brawn. Because of their supernatural strength and invulnerability, it is impossible to beat an angel in hand-to-hand combat. However, if you can trick it into viewing its own reflection, or trick 2 angels into staring at each other, you will be able to permanently freeze them in time, successfully ensuring your survival. Tag a friend if you're watching this at night, and follow for more.
How to beat a weeping angel guide.
2024 just got even crazier. Part 15.
Well, the US Coast Guard just released the first ever footage of the Titan submarine on the sea floor after it imploded last year. And we also found out that the last word transmitted by the crew inside was, "all good here." Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Next, LEGO just revealed they made a fully functional McLaren out of 342,000 LEGO pieces, and it took 8,300 hours to make. The car is powered by 768 LEGO electric motors, and it could go up to 40 miles per hour. The last time LEGO made a car was in 2018, and it was a Bugatti that could go 12 miles per hour. The fact that this McLaren can go 40 miles per hour is insane. Finally, Samsung announced they are currently working on a rollable mobile phone that could be released as early as late 2025. But just imagine getting a call, but you have to unroll your phone to answer the call. Do you guys think this is a bad idea or good idea? This is wild.
What do you guys think, man? I think that Lego story really freaking hit me, bro. They really made a whole car? McLaren out of Legos? Fun fact, man, McLaren's kind of like my dream car, so that's insane to think about, man. It goes up to 40 miles an hour, too. You keep pushing the boundaries, man. One day, bro, I'm calling it. It's going to be a whole freaking... They're going to try to sell a Lego car. Like, legit, bro. People driving them on the road. Come back to this video, man. I said it first.
The FBI are now saying that it appears that this was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump, which would make it the second time in only 3 months. Crazy. In the press conference, authorities say that a man was hiding in the bushes holding a long-range rifle with a scope attached, pointed in Trump's direction. He also had 2 backpacks hung on the fence with ceramic tiles, which they believe could have been intended to make used for makeshift body armor, and a GoPro, which they believe that he intended to record the whole situation with. Part I want to know more about. They say he was only 500 yards away from Trump before Secret Service agents saw the scope in the bushes and opened fire. Wild.
Facts that you probably didn't know until now. A lot of us are used to taking flights that last anywhere from 2 to 6 hours, but did you know that the shortest flight in the world only lasts 57 seconds. A Logan Air flight between Scottish Islands West Ray and Papa West Ray only lasts 57 seconds and travels a distance of 1.7 miles. Like, bitch, I could run that. Another fun fact is one about elephants. Did you know, not only do they hear out of their ears, but they can also hear out of their feet? Typically, to hear normal distances, elephants will open their ears like that and scan back and forth to hear. But to help them hear noises that are far away, they'll freeze, lean on their front legs, and that's how they hear. And lastly, we all know and love Pringles. Who doesn't love a good Pringle? The man responsible for creating the iconic Pringles can is named Frederick Bauer, but that's not the fun fact. The fun fact is that when he passed away, it was his dying wish that his remains be put in a Pringles can. His children honored the wish. They even debated over which flavor can they should put him in, and they settled on the original.
Whoa.
This is the greatest coincidence of all time. Around the 1950s, there was a 15-person church choir in Nebraska that met every Wednesday at 7:15 p.m. for practice. But on the 1st of March 1950, something strange happened. It was a cold day, so the pastor, Reverend Klempel, stopped earlier at the church to fire up the furnace and went home for dinner. It was then time to go back to church when his daughter noticed a large food stain on her dress. So he told his wife to iron another dress, which made them uncharacteristically late for practice. A choir member named Harvey was also trying to get his two sons ready, as his wife was out of town and he wasn't as quick in getting them ready as she was, which meant he would also be late.
Okay.
Another choir member named Herbert lost track of time that day while writing a letter. Ladonna was a student who was trying to finish her homework that same day, but she was having problems with geometry. The S2 sisters were also in the choir, were having problems with their car, so they asked the struggling mathematician, Ladonna, to pick them up. The pianist, Marilyn Paul, had fallen asleep after dinner, and her mother, who was the choir director, was having problems waking her up, which would also make them late for practice. High school student Lucille lost track of time listening to a radio program, which meant her and her neighbor Dorothy would also be running behind schedule. Mrs. Leonard and her daughter had to stop by her mother's house before practice, and the mother had a lot of stories to tell that day. And chorister Joyce Black had no peculiar reason for coming late. She said she was just feeling lazy and wanted to rest a bit. The practice was scheduled for 7:20, and at 7:27, the church would erupt to a ball of flames fueled by a broken gas pipe. No one inside the church would survive the blast, except that there was no one inside the church. Because on that day, each of the choir members and their children were uncharacteristically late for the most random reasons. So do you think this was divine intervention, or it was simply the greatest coincidence of all time? Baltimore?
The name...
Man. That's a chilling story, bro. Like, all of them had, like, a reason for being late. Like I said, is that the greatest coincidence of all time or divine intervention, man? I'm gonna go with intervention. Because, like you said, the freaking whole church went up in flames and it seems like nobody was survived, but nobody was inside the church because they was all late. Every single last one of them, man. It's really hard to think about. Like, do you know how much of a coincidence that would have to be? That's like a 1 in a billion chance all of them would be late. Whew.
Jim Jones has haunted me ever since I learned about the Jonestown massacre that claimed the lives of 908 innocent American civilians, making it the largest number of American deaths in a non-natural event preceding the September 11th attacks. Amongst the 908 victims was an outsized number of African Americans and a sitting congressman. But how did Jim Jones convince all of these people to follow his teachings? It's important to note most people will not blindly follow a stranger, but that they experienced manipulation and false truths about how one should live. The Emmy-winning team behind 9/11 One Day in America are now releasing a new docu-series called Cult Massacre One Day in Jonestown. It's a Hulu original from National Geographic that features never-before-seen footage, first-hand survivor accounts of Jim Jones, and a look at what really happened that fateful day in Jonestown. What caught my attention the most was the never-before-seen footage, and I think this docu-series will help shed light on the story while giving power back to the voices of those who survived Jim Jones. Cult Massacre One Day in Jonestown is now streaming on Hulu.
Should I check that out?
This manipulative teen killer thought he could get away with murder. 17-year-old Dylan Shoemaker made a desperate plea to the judge after beating his girlfriend's 23-month-old son to death. Shoemaker's defense attorney, Joseph Terranova, tried to get his client the minimum sentence of just 15 years.
Austin Smith was completely defenseless. It's a given. But there were other dynamics at work there, including my client's inability to either control his anger or frustration, and his inexperience in babysitting.
But Judge M. William Mueller saw through his tears.
The phone call to your mother from a holding center you stated, we got a quote from the court reporter, I am a 16-year-old woman. Probably all I have to do is cry in front of the jury, and they're going to feel sorry for me. End quote.
But Dylan Shoemaker was sentenced to 25 years to life for the second-degree murder of Austin Smith in 2013.
This one is so creepy. I first heard about this when I was in high school, and it scarred me for life. In the late 1940s, Russian researchers kept 5 prisoners locked in a room to do an experiment on them. They were going to be testing out a new chemical gas on these prisoners. The gas was a stimulant meant to keep people awake. The 5 prisoners were promised to be released from prison if they went through with this experiment and if they stayed awake for the 15 days. The researchers were going to be monitoring them by looking through porthole windows attached to the chambers and with microphones. And there was enough food in the chamber to keep all 5 of the prisoners eating for a month straight. They began pumping the gas into the chamber and everything was fine until 5 days later when things started to get a little bit weird. The prisoners began to talk to each other about traumatic, graphic events from their past, and their conversations kept getting darker and more disturbing. The prisoners started to display severe paranoia. Follow for part 2. Part 2 of the Russian sleep experiment. So after 5 days, their conversations started taking a dark turn. Then they stopped talking to each other and started whispering into the microphones. On the 9th day, one of them started screaming and running around the chamber. He was screaming so much that he busted out his vocal cords and he could no longer scream, he could just squeak. Wow. Soon after this, another one started screaming the exact same way. 2 more prisoners who weren't screaming took some books that were provided for them in the chamber, ripped out the pages, and glued them onto the windows using their feces. After the windows were completely covered, all of the screaming and whispering stopped. 3 more days passed and still no noise was coming from the chamber, and at this point the researchers didn't even know if the prisoners were alive anymore. The researchers decided to use the intercom to tell the prisoners that they were going to open the chamber and that the prisoners would be released if they complied. What the prisoners said next will terrify you. Follow for part 3. Part 3 of the Russian sleep experiment. So after the researchers told the prisoners over the intercom that they would be freed if they complied, one of the prisoners got on the microphone and he said in a very calm voice, "We no longer wish to be freed." The researchers decided that they would open the chamber after all. Before they could go into the chamber, they had to drain it of all of the gas. And as soon as they started doing this, the prisoners started screaming, begging for them to turn the gas back on. They were screaming bloody murder, begging for the gas. When the researchers finally went in to get the prisoners, they noticed that one of them was dead, and the other 4 had their organs torn out. Yet they were somehow still alive and they just kept begging for the gas to be turned back on. And this isn't even the end of the story. Follow for part 4. Part 4.
Damn, this story keeps getting... It's like we keep going deeper and deeper into this rabbit hole, bro. They got addicted to the gas. That's what we got, man, on the last part. I don't know what they put in that gas, man, to make them stay up for 5 days straight, but they had to put some addictive into it.
Of the Russian sleep experiment. So the researchers got the subjects out of the chamber and they took them to a hospital where they underwent surgery. The ones that could still sleep just kept asking the doctors for gas. The doctors decided not to give them any laughing gas or anesthesia for the surgeries, so they had to do the surgeries on them when they were awake. But the weird thing was, it seemed as though the prisoners enjoyed it. One of the prisoners who could no longer speak was given a notepad and pen during the surgery, and he scribbled down, "Keep cutting." As soon as one of the prisoners fell asleep, he flatlined and he died. Soon there was only one prisoner that was left, and right before he passed away, he looked at the doctor and he said, "We are the darkness that lurks within all of you. We are what you hide from in your beds every night. We are what you sedate into silence and paralysis when you go to the nocturnal haven that we cannot tread." And then his EKG flatlined and the experiment was over.
This man kills people who simply look at him and you won't believe why. You're not gonna need a part 2. So basically, this is Nico Jenkins. Nico was born in Colorado in 1986 to a family that was notoriously violent. At the age of 7, he brought a gun to school, and at the age of 15, he stole a car and went to jail. In prison, he was notoriously violent, and he would often assault other inmates, but he was finally released in 2013. This is when he went from being a normal criminal to being one of the most dangerous people alive. 2 weeks after he was released from prison, a police officer in Omaha, Nebraska found 2 dead men in the back of a pickup truck. Over the next week, 2 other people were murdered around the same area, notably Andrea Kruger. Andrea was driving home from work when somebody stopped her and shot her in the middle of the street and then abandoned her car down the highway. This is how Nico got caught, because he got sloppy and left DNA evidence in the car and failed to burn it. All of his victims were chosen seemingly at random because all but one of them had no connection to Nico at all. While he was in trial, he claimed he was being guided by the Egyptian serpent god Apophis, but that did not stop him from getting 4 death sentences. And now, you're not gonna need a part 2.
So anybody who looked at him, he just said, I can't deal with that. It's over. People in this day and age have truly lost it. You can't even look at somebody, man. Somebody take it the wrong way. What the? Why'd I go backwards?
Okay, so let's talk about the supposed vampires that live in New Orleans. Locals believe that the city is actually home to real living vampires. During the 1930s, brothers John and Wayne Carter were executed for committing multiple murders. About a dozen bodies were found, drained of their blood, after a young woman managed to escape the brothers' apartment. Sightings of these brothers are reported up until this very day because their bodies mysteriously vanished from the funeral vault. Why am I thinking of Stefan and Damon right now? Now fast forward to 1984, where 9 people were found around the French Quarter area, all with their throats ripped out. Paramedics and first responders were dumbfounded because even though the scene was gory, there was no blood. Also, vampire culture is majorly popular in New Orleans, but that must have stemmed from somewhere. The missing persons and crime rate is incredibly high around the French Quarter area. What if this is something more?
Vampires in New Orleans, okay.
That's a fucking slug. Imagine that in someone's fucking brain.
Do not mess with that freaking kid! If you do, I will rip off your goddamn head and shove it so far up your freaking ass, you'll be coughing up dandruff for 4 freaking months!
I don't care what you say. If you ever touch him again, I will freaking kill you. I'm gonna pull out a goddamn shotgun and blow your damn head off. Do you understand, you little worthless piece of crap?
See a video like that, man, the sounds of that. This called it the Lost Tapes 2. You can tell nothing good came from that video. The vibe that it was bringing.
Please do Cat Scratch. I actually used to play this game with my sisters all the time when we were younger, and most of the time it actually worked. So Cat Scratch is a paranormal game which basically you're supposed to summon some sort of spirit to scratch you along your back. To play the game you need at least 2 people. So one person sits crisscross applesauce and the other person lays their head in that person's lap. The person who's sitting up then starts rubbing the other person's temples and telling them one of the Cat Scratch stories. There are a few different variations of stories that go along with this game, but I'll tell you the most popular one. So the story goes like, there was once an old lady who owned a cat. The cat was very nice. It would meow and purr. One day the cat got hit by a car and died. Cat scratch, cat scratch, cat scratch. The old lady got a new cat. This cat was very mean. It hissed and clawed. Cat scratch, cat scratch, cat scratch. I'm running out of time, but follow for part 2.
This is the dark truth behind the Lion King. So we all remember this scene when Mufasa dies, right? Simba then later finds his dead body, but they never actually showed what happened to the body. You would think the hyenas ate it, but hyenas don't actually touch lions. And there is no other animal that eats lions besides lions themselves. But here's when it gets crazy. Now look at this picture of Scar. He is playing with some animal's skull, which just happens to look exactly like a lion's skull. So does this mean that Scar ate his own brother's dead body
Two cosmetic companies that got sued. Number 1, EOS Lip Balm. In 2016, the brand came under attack when a story surfaced of a customer reaction lawsuit. Many people reported blistering, cracked, bleeding lips, which was actually caused by a chemical reaction within the ingredients. 2 years later, EOS settled the lawsuit. Number 2, Johnson & Johnson. In 2018, Johnson & Johnson was ordered to pay $4.7 billion in damages to 22 women. The women alleged that the baby powder they were using was contaminated with asbestos, which led them to have ovarian cancer. To this day, Johnson & Johnson is still facing over 16,000 US legal cases. Let me know if you want me to make this a series.
There is a new planet exactly the same as Earth. This planet is the same size and looks identical to Earth. As you guys can see, they're both identical. And there could be humans on this planet. Scientists are trying to get to the planet and trying to discover what is on it. There could be humans or even aliens on this other world, because it's identical to our Earth. Make sure you share this message with everyone and follow me.
Identical Earth? I doubt humans.
If you see this happen, you need to run fast. If you see these orange dots on a tree in the woods, you seriously need to run fast. It might just look like orange paint, but don't be fooled. This is a trap. There have been loads of reports of missing people in these types of woods. So if you see these orange markings in the woods, you need to run fast. Make sure you share this message and follow for more.
Why is he there then, bro? Keep risking his life for the... Seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I greatly appreciate the support. Make sure you guys leave a thumbs up in this video, comment down below, hit that post notification bell so you always get notified when I upload my next videos. You guys are going to catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.